those of you who don't know, I know how Spencer would answer this question. He would say his Crocs. Yeah, see, they all wave their Crocs in the air. This morning, when I asked at 456, they said the exact same thing. They're all like, oh, I love my Crocs. I'm like, guys, Crocs were a thing when I was in like 4th grade, and they were not popular shoes. And they were not shoes that you wore like around. You wore them to like take the dogs out. At least in my house you did. But Crocs are the favorites, and they're Spencer's favorite as well. If you ask him, he'll talk your ear off about his freaking Crocs. So weird. Hi, friends. I am going to make this statement right now. I am making no promises of getting through this without crying. I do not do well with transitions, and this is a lesson all about them. So they asked me to talk because there's some 6th graders in the room, and we love them, right? Yes. I am one. Okay, so I am sad to see them go. Guys, I did this last year too, and last year it got cut off real short. Passing them off is like sad. It's good and it needs to happen, but it's sad for me because I grow to really, really like them. I know y'all may not believe I like you, but I do, I promise. So they asked me to come up and talk because I have been helping out at 180, and then also my job is 456. So I was like, what the heck do I say to a graduating senior and an incoming 7th grader, like a new 7th grader? And I didn't pick David. See, you all go boo. All of my 4th, 5th, and 6th graders would go, yes, she's not going to talk about David because they had to endure it for a long time. But I settled on Matthew. He was one of the 12 disciples, so he followed Jesus around. He and Jesus were like BFFs, and he would just do life with Jesus for 3 years and wrote all about it. It's in the Bible, in the book of Matthew. And so I decided to talk about chapter 9 of the book of Matthew. There is one verse. I'm only going to go into one verse today. Where he goes into his calling when Jesus called Matthew. So, I'm going to read it. Are you ready? As Jesus went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. That was just half of the verse. We'll get to the other half later. Okay, so tax collectors. This is what Matthew does for a living. This is his job. Not the most beloved people in Israel. They were actually the most despised people in Israel. They were hated and vilified. I mean, nobody liked a tax collector. I don't like my taxes getting taken out. And these people were much, much worse about it. They were considered like scum and like worse human beings than the Romans who were like occupying Israel at the time. And there were 2 different kinds of tax collectors. I've learned this past week. There were tax collectors who collected like property taxes, and people didn't mind them as much. Like, it makes sense. It's like a set rate. You pay it because you own land. And then the other kind were import-export tax collectors. And they were the most hated. They would set up shop in a city gate. So you have the city, and there's a wall around it to protect it, and there are gates going in and out of the city. And these tax collectors would set up a booth at the gate or on a bridge or on a road, and as people came and went past their booth, they would collect a tax. But it was worse than that. So I have an illustration, but I need a volunteer. We're just calling up all the volunteers. Grant, do you want to come up here? You don't? Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to make you. Jacob. Okay. So I have 2 $10 bills. Can you separate them and verify there are 2 $10 bills there? Yes? Okay. You, Israelite citizen. Okay? Nice to meet you. Hi. Rome has decided that there is a $10 tax to get past me. So you come up to me, ready to pay your $10 tax, and I look at you and I say, actually, it's $20. Yes. 1, 2. Now one of them, right, goes goes back to Rome, and the other just like sits in my pocket. And I just take it, and it's mine. And you had to pay double for no reason other than I'm greedy. Just 'cause. How do you feel? Not happy. I know. Would you feel better if I let you walk out of here with this? Okay, you can go sit down. Thank you. Y'all should have raised your hands. I don't know why you didn't. Sorry. Anyways, okay, so that's how tax collectors operated. They would stand there, and for no reason other than they wanted your money, they would just like double the tax, and they would take half of it. And this was like normal. So nobody liked a tax collector. They were looked down on and hated because they stole from people constantly. They were not as nice as me. They did not give you back the other half. So Jewish people hated tax collectors. So much so that in the Jewish religious law, it was considered righteous to like lie and deceive a tax collector. Righteous, like they thought you were in a right standing with God if you lied to a tax collector. Lying is wrong. It is not okay. But if you lied to a tax collector, I guess it was somewhat acceptable. So no self-respecting Jew in their right mind would ever become a tax collector. You get cut off from like your family and your people, right? Like the Jewish people wanted absolutely nothing to do with you when you were a tax collector. And as a tax collector, you were not allowed to enter the temple. So you were cut off from God, technically. And that was Matthew, a Jew. A Jewish tax collector. So Jesus, right, walking along, and he sees Matthew sitting in his tax collector's booth, and he walks up to him, and this is what he says. This is the second half of the verse. Are you ready? I only have one verse, so y'all better pay attention. Follow me, he told him. And Matthew got up and followed. So I've got this picture. They're going to turn all the lights off. It's going to get really, really dark, but they need to be off so you can see it, okay? So I have this really cool picture. Oh, there it is. Whew. Oh, that's really bright. Okay, so this is a Caravaggio is his name. He painted this a really, really long time ago. But here's what you need to know. This right here, that's Matthew, okay? These are tax collectors. These are tax collectors. This is some disciple, not important for today. And this right here, can anyone guess who that is? It's Jesus. Okay, so Matthew, right? He's sitting here in the middle of all of these people, and his hand, his right hand is right here. Do you see? He's like holding down this money, right? He has half of his hand, half of his body is positioned to like be a part of this money, right? He wants to protect it and be a part of the tax collector's life. And this other hand is like, wait, Jesus, you're pointing to me? Who, me? And Jesus, right, he's pointing to Matthew and he's calling him out and he's saying, follow me. But look, here's the really cool part that I had a professor had to point out to me. These are Jesus's feet. Do you see how they're turned away? So Jesus, you can turn all the lights back on. That's all I needed. So Jesus, right, he is pointing to Matthew, but he is already walking the other direction. No hesitation, no second thought, no doubt in Jesus' mind that Matthew is about to get up and follow after him with everything that he has. And that's the expectation that when Jesus calls, you obey immediately. And that's what Matthew does. And this decision, guys, this was like not an easy decision for Matthew to make. Because when he got up from his tax collector's booth, there was no going back. This decision was irreversible as soon as he made it. He could never go back to being a tax collector. He could never return to his old life because people wouldn't let him. Matthew knew that as soon as he got up and he followed Jesus, he was leaving everything and everyone behind that he knew. Family, friends, coworkers, job security, getting up and moving into this unknown future. He didn't know what was going to happen, but he just knew this was the thing he was supposed to do. And we are all in the same boat. Whether you are a graduating senior, It's nice. I have a graduating senior and an incoming 7th grader. This is a nice little. But whether you are, right, a senior or a 6th grader or somewhere in between, or you're an adult, it doesn't matter. Because we all are given the same call as Matthew every day. We're called to follow after Jesus with no hesitation and no second guessing. To leave our old life behind, right? To give up the things that we once found comfort in, the things that we think we once loved and wanted to do with nothing else. But now we're called to follow after Jesus, and whatever that looks like. And most of the time you don't know. Matthew was the only disciple who never went back to his old life after Jesus died. A couple weeks ago, Alexa talked about Peter, right? And how he went back to being a fisherman and Jesus reappeared to him. Matthew didn't do that. We don't know what Matthew did after Jesus died, right? In that waiting period before he was shown that Jesus was alive, because he couldn't. And he knew that the second that Jesus walked up to him and he said, "Follow me," he knew there was no going back. Just like with us. When Jesus looks at you and he says, "I want you to be a part of my family," well, guys, there's no going back to your old life. You're here. You're a part of it. Sometimes following after God is really hard. It doesn't make any sense, and it's not fun all of the time. I'm going to be really honest with you. I had to pack up my life my senior year of high school and move 350 miles away from everything I had ever known and loved and the people that cared so deeply about me. And I was mad. I was mad at God. I was mad at the church. I was mad at my parents. Because I had gotten into this place, right? I just finished my junior year. I was going to be a captain of the cross-country team. I was going to go to prom with my friends. I was going to get to walk across the stage with the people I had done life with for 11 years. And then my dad comes to me and he says, "Oh, we're going to move." I'm like, "Oh, where?" He says, I don't know, but we're not staying here." I was like, And then he said, "Oh, we're going to move to Muncie." And I was like, "Great." And then I looked up Muncie Community Schools, and their mascot was a bearcat. And I was like, "I'm not moving there." But I ended up going to Yorktown, so it didn't matter. I was a tiger. But do not boo me. But, guys, sometimes it's hard. Following after God is not always clear-cut, and it doesn't always make sense. And sometimes you have to leave people and places that mean a lot to you. But God blesses it when you obey his calling. So whatever phase of life you're in, 6th graders, seniors, adults, parents, grandparents, go where God has called you to go. Because he's going to bless the decision you make in following after him. Let's pray. God, thank you for today that we could close out a semester of 180 together. It's hard to say goodbye, and sometimes it's hard to welcome new people. But we are all just trying our best to do what you have called us to do. So help us as we go and leave this place, some of us for the last time and some of us for the first time. I pray that you will guide our steps and our actions so that we can reflect you to the people that we interact with every day. I pray that you will bless our worship and our conversations in small group, and that we will just be able to hang out and have a fun time. Pray all these things in your name. Amen.